We are continuing our Road to Rank 10 series here on the channel. This set of videos we have got are from a couple of days ago. At this point I was in rank 5, and the wins, we've got 22 wins in a total of 30 battles with a longest streak of 7 wins. We are sticking with the team that we featured in yesterday's video. Yesterday we went 5-0 with Deoxys Defense Form, Mantine, and Registeel. And ultimately I liked how the team was handling. We of course found this set of 3 Pokemon, this team on the Silph Arena's team ranking tool. So if you're interested, I'll put a link to the video we had a couple of days ago featuring the Silph Arena's tool and my initial thoughts on it. Here, this team is having a lot more success than the first team that we had tried out with the team ranking tool. So we will head straight into the set of battles being featured. Now, previously in the first couple of videos that we had on the channel, I recorded them and played them back in standard time, in 1x time. I've since switched to going 1.5 times speed. If you like the speed better, if you're familiar with the original set of videos, please leave a comment down below. I'd like to know if you like the little bit faster playback, or if I sound rushed, then let me know. And we can, of course, switch the speed back to 1x times. So here we have got an amazing matchup for Deoxys Defense Form. We have caught this lead in the best possible situation. The opponent, in no circumstance, there is no way that they should have stuck into this matchup. It cannot get any worse. They have got a rock steel type that is taking double super effective damage from the Deoxys Defense Form's counter fighting type move, and then you're just letting me farm this thing down. So now we've got 2 rock slides loaded up against a flying type here. It is just going to be a absolute bloodbath. They have used both of their shields, and now we come in with the Registeel. Now here we're concerned potentially with the flamethrower. The typical set on Togekiss is a Charm in the fast move, a very powerful fairy type fast move, followed by flamethrower and ancient power. So I knew that the flamethrower was potentially coming, and we've got Leaf Blade, or Tropius now has swapped in, and I'm potentially concerned at this point, but I know that if I can at least, with 1 shield up, get to a Ice Beam, the Tropius as a grass flying type is going to be doubly weak to an Ice Beam from Mantine, so I'm not overly concerned. And even if they had gotten a charge move off, we have 1 more shield, so we should be in a good position. So here, heading into battle number 2, we have got Banks 94 wearing a beautiful blue trench coat, of course one of the gym leader outfits, and he is leading with the spirit Pokemon of my father. Me, of course, being the pre-evolution, my spirit Pokemon being Nosepass. Probopass looking just like my dad's mustache, neither here nor there. So he has swapped out, as rightly so, from the bad matchup against the Deoxys Defense Form. Would have been doing double super effective damage into the opponent's Probopass. He swaps into Altaria, and of course that would be a winning matchup against my Deoxys. So I then swap into Registeel. And here we're trying to trying to work to a second charge move. He's got a Dragon Pulse. He makes the right decision there. A Sky Attack, although better, I think, energy, does not do as much damage as the Dragon Pulse. Both would have been resisted, so he is able to get the knockout, me with a fully charged, basically, Flash Cannon ready to go. So definitely in a bad matchup. Here, I'm going to swap into the Mantine. One, it's going to take immunity tier resistance against the fast move of Mudshot, And if he elects to go with a Mud Bomb, it's also going to be immunity tier resistance to that. I'm going to try to debuff the opponent as much as possible, hoping to get to as many Bubble Beams so that if another Blizzard comes through, I'm not going to be completely wrecked. Typically with Mantine, you try to shield earlier attacks, and the reason for that being you've gotten an opportunity later on to have debuffed them, so if the charge move comes through without the shield, you're not in as bad a position. Early on, however, it's a very common Pokemon to see using a bait, so that's why I did not go with the initial shield. That was, however, the wrong decision. So we ate 2 of those Blizzards. He has now taken out the Mantine, and we've got the doubly weak Probopass here coming in against the Deoxys. So we've got 1 Pokemon attempting to take down 3 of theirs. We are out of shields, and the opponent is going to launch the Rock Slide. We get that one. We've got a Rock Slide ready. Probably the better move would have been to utilize the Psycho Boost. Had I used Psycho Boost against the Wish Cache, I may have been able to get to a second Psycho Boost, but ultimately the opponent is successful by the narrowest of margins in that final moment, bringing in the Altaria. So number 3, we've got Droopy Myers leading with a Skarmory. If I had had Thunderbolt on the Deoxys, that would have been a great matchup. Here we're going to be doing basically neutral damage back and forth. Deoxys being very bulky, but the Steel typing is going to take super effective damage from the Fighting Fast move, but is going to be resisted by the Flying subtyping of Skarmory, so everything ends up being a wash. Same thing with Rock Slide. That would typically be super effective into a Flying type, but the Steel typing resists it, so it ends up being just effective damage. So here we have got 2 shields available. We elect not to go with it, and the opponent is now up on shields, but we're going to do our best to farm down or to farm as much energy as possible against the Skarmory, because everything that it is going to be using against the Registeel, as far as fast moves or charge moves, is going to be resisted. He swaps in rightly the Medicham, so now we are going to do our best to debuff the opponent as much as possible. He's running Psychic, the recently buffed Psychic charge move. The previous set when Medicham was the king of the Great League was Power Up Punch and Ice Punch. So here I brought in Mantine as a Flying type, thinking most of that's going to be resisted. As a Water type, it's going to at least make neutral damage for the Ice Beam, or the Ice Punch, but he ends up bringing in Psychic, which is a very strong attack, especially with stab damage, as the Medicham is a Psychic type. Stab, of course, being same type attack bonus. If you weren't aware, a Pokemon that uses an attack that is the same typing as the Pokemon gets a bonus amount of damage added. I believe it's a 20% increase in damage to the attack. So if the attack would normally do 100 damage, it would now do 120. In an instance where you can elect between using a stab attack or using a super effective attack, you're typically, if all things being equal, better off using the super effective attack. That is a 1.6 times multiplier instead of only a 1.2. So we have then in the back Bastiodon, and of course Focus Blast is just going to finish him. I mean, it's over. It just is real ugly for a Bastiodon versus a Registeel. Now, of course, Bastiodon does have some counter coverage with Flamethrower, but we're able to, because of Lock-On's quick energy charging, able to get to that more quickly. So here we've got a positive matchup. The opponent is going to be very likely running the counter, so we're going to be resisting that as a Psychic type back. They're going to be resisting our counter. We are a little bit bulkier than the opponent. I'm using the Rock Slide early on because I don't want to debuff myself using the Psycho Boost. Psycho Boost against a fighting type would be super effective. Medicham being a psychic type also would resist it, so it would end up being neutral damage. The Rock Slide as a fighting type Medicham is going to resist, so I was hoping to just draw out the shield and not debuff myself, but here he did not go for it, and now we've got a decision. Do we want to let the Deoxys go? We let it go. So now we have got Mantine coming in. I did not want to lead, of course, Registeel into a fighting damage like what the Medicham is bringing. And for the most part, unless it was psychic, Mantine was going to resist or at least take neutral damage from everything else. So that was going to be a better matchup overall. So the opponent, it's amazing how quickly Shadow Claw can charge up. I was worried that that was potentially a Shadow Ball. It's only the Shadow Punch, so that's why we don't shield. Here, the lock-on is doing virtually nothing. A Ghost is going to have resistance to the normal type damage of lock-on. The opponent does let that go through. It lets it go through. He doesn't have any shields. And then here we've got 2 shields ready. We are going to shield this because even if it were a at this low a health, even if it were something like an Ice Beam or a Play Rough, very likely that it might KO the Registeel, but we've got the opportunity to really farm this or build up to enough energy to potentially get off, as you see it there, 2 lock-ons or 2 flash cannons doing neutral damage into the Azumarill. So here, there's really no reason to hold back the shield. We're going to want to shield again that early attack before the opponent has been debuffed by Bubble, and we're of course going to launch as many of those as possible just so that we wear down their attack stat, because this is going to be a war of attrition versus 2 water types battling each other with water type attacks. So there we pull out the second, maybe third-ish win with the team. We've now gone 4-5. Or 3-4 rather. We're 3-4 out of the 4 or 5 battles battled. That makes sense. And this is our final. We're looking for the opponent. So if you've had success with Great League, Go Battle League, if you've got any spicy teams, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what teams you've been having success with. The opponent here having some success making it into rank 5 with the Snorlax, and this is potentially a research Snorlax with 1461 seems fairly low off of the 1500 threshold. I don't know if that is an IV issue or if that's just where those things power up to after research. I don't recall what they were at. So we have now got one, he's using Lick, which is going to be, of course, super effective into, as a ghost type move, into the psychic typing of Deoxys defense form. Our counter, however, is super effective back into Snorlax. So now the opponent has brought in the spice of all spice, Beartic, an ice type recently released Unova Pokemon. And we are going to be, of course, hitting that for super effective damage, one with the fighting type fast move of Deoxys defense form, and also with the Rock Slide, going to be hitting it for super effective damage in the charge moves. So not a good matchup for the opponent. He has burnt all shields, and now we're going to bring in Registeel because it's going to resist everything that Ivysaur has to throw at it. And we are successful in pulling out that win. So ultimately, I hope that they fix that. Having to go out and go back in really, really gets old. So we end up pulling out 4 out of 5 wins in that set in our push to rank 10. Here again, we're in rank 5. Our reward for our hard work is a Machop, probably. But it is not enough to get us to rank 6. So we will continue our push to rank 10 in tomorrow's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.